Chris speaks here tonight with Robert McCollum, former candidate for the Public Service Commission, who was going through some documents the other day that is out on the Public Service website, and he found something very interesting. Now, over the past year or so, we have told y'all about a hidden tax that is taking place. And just to go real quick through it, the Public Service Commission gets no money from the general fund. They get it from the utility companies for the pleasure of regulating them, who overcharge a little bit, so they make sure that all their fees is done. At the end of the year, there is a windfall of money that's left over, and Twinkle Kavanaugh says she gave $20 million back to the general fund. Well, no, she didn't, because she never got money from the general fund to begin with. But while Robert was going through some paperwork yesterday, he found something very interesting. Robert, tell me what you found.
According to the report from the Public Service Commission, in just this past year alone, they have managed to steal over $21 million from the ratepayers of Alabama. And how they're doing that is through this called cost recovery. And what it is these previous rate increases that they've done to cover fuel costs, they have overcharged the ratepayer by $20-something million. And
Now,
someone needs to go into that Public Service Commission and steal that money back that they have stole from the ratepayers of Alabama and give it back to the ratepayers.
this is a den of thieves, and what we need to do is turn over that money table. Now, let's go back to this money you was talking about a while ago. You realize that is an average of what? We got 5 million people in Alabama, so 4 million people do they have stolen from?
Yep.
Now, and at the end of this year, what do you think this money is going to be given back in a rebate, or do you think it's going to go into the general fund?
Well, I mean, they bragged about they give a rebate. I want to say it was about a month or so ago. It was like $2 million rebate. But, for all the people in Alabama, that's the bill was before they pushed through all these rate increases.
I mean, and the thing about it is, when you look at these rate increases, the 4 they gave in 2022, they ended up averaging out to $82 a month per household. That's almost $10,000 a year in rate increases.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing that got me is they said they needed to cover fuel. I get that. Fuel was up. But when they passed the full rate increase, fuel had dropped 80 cents a gallon.
I do too. I mean, I understand that, but where is the justification for 4 rate increases? If they needed that much for fuel, they should have come to the PSC with the first rate increase and had a laid out proposal of what they needed to cover fuel costs, instead of spreading it out over 4 different rate increases where fuel got cheaper each time.
And this whole set of cowards from the top to the bottom did not have enough guts to put this up there before the election. They waited just 2 days after the runoff. That was the biggest in your face to the state of Alabama I think I've ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah, that was excuse my language, but FU to the people of Alabama. Was exactly what it was.
That was exactly what it was. They cared nothing for the people. Of course, I mean, you wouldn't expect the Southern Company to, but our elected officials, and I'm so sick of hearing them say I'm conservative. This should not be about conservative or liberal. It should be about doing the right thing. you know, because liberals are out to help the poor too, you know. You know what I'm saying? I mean, this should not be a politicized job. This should be doing what is the right thing.
I mean, I thought conservative meant less taxes, less inflation, less overall cost. But it seems like what we're getting out of these people is more tax, more inflation, and more overall costs.
And the formula, if I'm not mistaken, that came up to give Alabama their profit margin was none other than the Right Reverend Jeremy Oden. I'm sure he had to pass around the offering plate for that.
Well, what that rate formula, from what I've looked at, it looks like a sleight of hand move to me. It's like while you're looking over here, something else is going on over there.
Now, to your knowledge, has Twinkle, Chip, or Jeremy voted against a rate increase while they've been on the Public Service Commission?
My knowledge, they love them.
I mean, I can't recall one that they have voted down. And I've heard through some of my sources down there, I can't name them here on the show, that Jeremy Oden tries to portray himself off as a tragic figure, that he's just forced to go along with this, which means he's just nothing but a coward.
Well, I don't know that to be true one way or the other.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had heard that or not. I've heard that through, you know, several inside sources down there inside the PSC. You know, said that that in private talks he blames everything on Twinkle Kavanaugh.
Well, the only thing I can say about Jeremy is what I know on a personal level. And on a personal level, Jeremy seems like a decent person. Now, will I say the same thing about Twinkle Kavanaugh or Chip Baker? Hell no.
You know, Twinkle Kavanaugh is got her mindset on the governor's mansion, and that was the whole thing about. She's trying to. She understands that the last time you and Robin and McLam and Hammock and Woodall, y'all damaged their candidates. Y'all forced incumbents into a runoff. And last time you had two candidates that were, you know, the publicity was divided up. That's not the case this time. She has a bullseye on her back. She is in trouble and she knows it. That's why she is running these ads right now to try to ward off any would-be challengers.
Which is why she's trying to come out, which is why she's already declared candidacy without even having an opponent yet. I mean, you do not do that unless you're just shaking in your boots, or in her case, shaking in her heels, nervous.
And I hope that the people will see through what she has done, because that tweet she had the other day about fighting for the Second Amendment and pro-life, I could not have asked for a better blow up in her face than that happened.
Well, you know, they play the same charade every year, that they're doing stuff they're not. I mean, saying that they're fighting this, saying that they're fighting for jobs in Alabama. PSC has nothing whatsoever to do with that. They run that con to the voters, and yeah, I mean, you know, ultimately they play Alabama voters for suckers.
I mean, they fell for it. I mean, I don't know what else you can say. They fell for it without fighting the, you know, the whatever it is agenda, and they fell for it hook, line, and sinker. And hopefully they realized how much their power bills went up. I mean, the last rate increase went up $22 in 1 month.
Oh yeah, and you know, if they don't realize it, I mean, they get what they deserve.
And here's what they don't understand either. Every time there's a rate increase, the hidden tax goes up that higher.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought being conservative was for saving the people money. I mean, with these three, it's costing us monthly.
Well, when they're hired, when they're funded by George Soros and the EDU PAC, I would hardly call these people conservatives.
Mm-hmm. Without a doubt. I mean, you look at Baker for a fact. Baker, the only reason Baker even switched parties was because he knew he couldn't get elected statewide as a Democrat.
Something has got to be done. We cannot let her walk back in there unopposed. Is Robert McCollum running against Twinkle Kavanaugh?
Well, I'll say this: all options are on the table.
When will we have a definite answer?
July 24th.
If Robert McCollum is elected to the Public Service Commission, what would be your first official act of duty?
Well, my first act of duty would be to fire Debbie Williams. I mean, ultimately, she needs to go. She's a disaster at the PSC. And, in my opinion, she's a very nasty woman. Speaking of that, I mean, that might have changed everything right there. I mean, if just the perks of being able to get her out of the PSC would just about be enough for me to say I'm running.
Sounds to me like you're running.
Well, like I said, all options are on the table, but that is a very big perk to get her out of the PSC.
Well, I hope if you decide to run that you come out swinging with both fists.
You will know all July 24th.
And I hope you will let me have the first interview and write up with that too.
You will.
And are we going to end the hidden tax?
We're going to end it the first day.
That sounds like a candidate that's got some fight in them.
We're going to end it the first day. I mean, they say they can't end it because the legislature tells them what to do. That's ultimately another lie every year. They vote to send that money to the general fund. They can vote to give that money back to the ratepayer.
Are you going to push for open rate or open hearings?
I'm going to push for more public hearings. And another thing I would like to do is I would like to bring in the public and give the public time to let their voices be heard in each hearing.
That's what I'm talking about, letting the people voice their opinion.
And because, we got a disaster down there and it needs to change.
Well, it takes brave men to do stuff like that. Robert, that's all the questions I got for you tonight. Anything you want to leave the voters with?
Other than stay tuned till July 24th, I can't think of anything.
All right, we're going to talk soon, buddy.
All right. Have a good night.
All right, bye-bye.